Okay, now let's take the case of an alias. Alias is nothing but a name given to either a column field or a table field. For example, in this particular query, we can see that the customer has this. So it is done with the help of the keyword called as. And C is the object. C is actually called the alias with respect to customer. And for example, for invoice table, Y is the alias with respect to the table invoice. So as keyword is used for creating the alias. For customer, alias was C, and for invoice alias was Y. So for this particular case, we are trying to take the selective fields from customers and invoice by making comparison of the ID values of each of them. So it's actually like a join query. But here we are not calling the join keyword, but we are using a comma instead of that. So we can see that from the customer, we are that is the object C, that is the alias C. We are selecting salary, name, age, and address. That is coming from the customer table. And with the alias O of the invoice, we are actually calling the profession. So this is the profession name. So here we have to give, there shouldn't be any gap between the points and the fields. Now we can debug this particular query in the query designer window. So we can go to the query designer window now, and as we can see the one of the query fields. Yeah. Now this was the same query have been copied and pasted over here, and with the calling the sample, the appropriate and the exact database name should be called with respect to which the tables are lying. So we can make it cross check also. Sample one customer table, customer invoice. So customer invoice particularly should be available in sample one, otherwise you don't access. Now we can debug this particular query, and we can see that with the alias, with respect to alias fields, first of all, the IDs have been compared, and accordingly, the fields of each of the tables have been placed one after the other. So we can execute the query and see. Now, if the salary has come up from the first table, that is customer. The name has come from the second, even from the first table. Even the age has come from the first table. Even the address has come from the first table. Only the profession that is coming from the second table. That is invoice. Invoice object was invoice alias. So with respect of the alias fields, we have made the comparison of the ID values with respect to which, even with the help of the alias fields, we have field names of respective tables are also called. The C was the alias for the customer, by means of which the salary was called. C was the alias field of the customer table. Again with the same, we called the name, and similarly with the age and address. And O was the alias field of the invoice table, and with the O field, we called the profession that was lying in the second table. That was in the invoice table. And when we made debug, we saw that exactly all the fields have been coming up. We can check with the origin table and see or exactly the same comparison with respect to ID fields have been made. So this is how the particularly we can define alias. So alias can be with respect to even name, column field name. Suppose you see a salary as S, then here instead of salary the S will be shown. That's only the difference. Or we can make an easy check. Sal. Now sal will be displayed instead of salary. That's only the difference that comes up. See, now sal has come up. So that is, we have created an alias for the column field, not for the table field for this particular case. So this is how the alias has been used. Now again, for this name, we can name it as we can name it a username. So instead of name, the username will be displayed over here. See, this is, we have created two alias fields for the column fields. So this is how the column field alias and the table field alias are different from each other.